That good-for-nothing wife. Just ditch that woman before we get in real trouble. As soon as they thought I was asleep, my husband and his mother completely changed their attitudes. They left home, claiming they didn't want to lose their assets. Shamelessly, they returned and began causing chaos. When I confronted them with reality. My name is Serena. I'm 30 years old. I got engaged to my husband, Ethan, after dating him for 5 years. We were living with his parents in their house. Initially, we had agreed to buy our own house when we had our first child. It's been nearly 2 years since then, but we haven't been blessed with a child, and we're still living with his parents, including my husband, his mother, and his younger brother. I was often the subject of concern from those around me. My parents lived far away, a distance that required air travel, and they always expressed regret that they could not help me. However, my husband was always kind to me, and I had a good relationship with my mother-in-law. We were so removed from typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law issues that it felt like they didn't apply to us. Because of this, I was very happy. One day, I got into an accident and broke a bone. I was hospitalized and couldn't move on my own. In the early days after the accident, my husband and mother-in-law visited me daily and worried for me. Now, they only visit once a week. I was grateful they even came to visit, but the next day the doctor told me I might have lasting injuries. She can't do housework or anything, but she's going to cost us more than ever. What a useless wife. She has lingering issues, having kids is even more out of the question, right? Yeah, maybe now that it's come to this, I think it's a good thing we don't have kids. And if she stays bedridden forever, I'll have to do all the housework and care for her. I didn't agree to marry for this. Wasn't it to do the housework and caregiving? If she hadn't gotten into an accident, she could have continued as our maid. What a disappointment. Before this becomes too troublesome, get rid of that woman. I'll divorce her quickly. Thinking I was asleep, the two of them had this conversation in my hospital room. I was nothing more than a maid and caregiver to them. After that, the attitudes of my husband and my mother-in-law towards me became blatantly cold. Your husband hardly comes, does he? He must be searching for a new woman. If only you had a child, you could have kept him by the skin of your teeth. My husband wasn't even coming once a week anymore. My mother-in-law seemed to just be passing the time by saying nasty things. My brother-in-law, however, was doing the laundry, checking if I needed anything, and was generally very helpful. He visited me nearly every day and even took me to the open-air area in my wheelchair when I felt suffocated by my long hospitalization. I was tired from physical therapy and wanted to give up at times, but I think I've made it this far thanks to my brother-in-law. His presence was that much of a help to me. I'm not getting worse, and physical therapy is going well, but it's still hard to say anything about any potential lingering issues. When I told my husband and mother-in-law about this, seriously? I told you we should have gotten rid of her sooner. The two of them started arguing over me. What are you two even saying? Aren't you being too harsh on Serena, who's been taking care of our house and father all this time? In reality, I had been taking care of my father-in-law for 5 years while dating my husband. When we started dating, we were told, why don't you live together since you are both going to get married anyway? Yeah, it's a great deal. We can save money, live together, and then get married when we're settled. When I hesitated, they said, it's okay. We have plenty of rooms and we won't invade your privacy. Plus, you don't need to pay rent. You want to marry my son, right? How could I refuse? But in return, we have a favor to ask, Serena. While you're working from home, can you look after our father who needs care? It's only for 4 to 5 hours during the day when my mother is out for her part-time job. We also have my brother, so the two of you can work together. My brother-in-law was also working from home, so he and I teamed up to take care of my father-in-law in the house. My father-in-law and brother-in-law were very close. My father-in-law had a hobby of collecting furniture and even had a separate house just for it. My brother-in-law and I always enjoyed hearing about his hobby. My father-in-law loved his caring son, Nolan. Eventually, my father-in-law's health began to decline, and after years of care, he passed away. After that, my husband proposed to me, saying, "Thank you for always taking care of my father. Let's continue to be together. Let's get married." Despite having worked hard on housework and caregiving, the moment I became immobile, my husband and mother-in-law's attitude was as if I was worthless. Even I, normally composed, was infuriated. Force me? Please pay what you're supposed to. Well, I don't want any trouble, so I'll give you the house. Let's waive the other division of property. I wondered if he would give me the house, but since my father-in-law had left a substantial inheritance, each of us, my mother-in-law, Ethan, and Nolan, received around $300,000. Nolan was tasked with handling all the paperwork with the executor and had to visit the court several times, which was quite a hassle. No way, we can't give away the house. If we divide the property, I'll lose half my savings. It's just a wastefully large house in the countryside. Even if we give it away, it's not an issue. Even at the highest estimate, it's only worth about $100,000, plus various fees will be deducted when we sell it. It's cheaper than losing half my savings. Well, if you say so, Ethan. But what if she demands more later? What if rumors spread in the neighborhood because we abandoned her? The two debated what to do with me. Then I'll take her in, Nolan, Ethan's brother, interrupted. Why would you go out of your way to do that? You've been interested in Serena, haven't you? That's why you're so willing. You can have her if you want, but she's no longer useful to us. Don't ask to take Serena and the house back later, okay? Why would I? I just hope you won't come asking for money later. And remember, you can't return damaged goods. Ethan and Nolan signed papers and arranged to formally change the property title through a lawyer. I'll take out some money for my savings. So why don't you find a younger, healthier, and prettier woman to marry and build a better house? Sounds good. Hey, Serena, get a lawyer to file for our divorce quickly. They said they'd stay in a hotel for a while and left the room. Nolan and I silently saw them off. I had to find a lawyer to file for our divorce first. Nolan helped me file for the divorce, and in a few days, Ethan and I became strangers. A week later, Ethan and my mother-in-law packed their belongings and left the house. It was strange that Nolan, Ethan's brother, continued to visit me. Now that I've divorced your brother, there's no need for you to worry about your former sister-in-law, he responded. I'm doing this because I want to. I didn't get along with you just because you were my brother's wife. We both provided care and did housework together. We've talked a lot more in these 7 years than you ever did with my brother. We're friends, aren't we? Nolan said with a gentle smile. All I could do was express my thanks and gratitude. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital. Although I had to visit the hospital for physical therapy, I felt relieved to be home after such a long time. Do you think those two will ever come back? I'm worried they might return and make me work again. If they come back, I'll drive them away. I can't forgive them for treating you so horribly. Plus, they have no right to return to this house, Nolan reassured me. I was still unable to move as before, so Nolan took care of most of the household chores. Fortunately, as I had been working from home as a freelancer, I was able to return to work and contribute financially. Thanks to bi-weekly physical therapy, I recovered smoothly without any complications. A year later, I was able to live as before, and Nolan and I collaborated on the housework. We spent more time together, using our days off to go on trips. Just when I thought our peaceful days would continue, a storm suddenly came. One night while Nolan and I were eating dinner, the door was knocked on and the intercom rang repeatedly. When I nervously answered, the person on the monitor was Ethan. Hey, open up, he shouted, not realizing that his noise might disturb the neighbors. I opened the front door, and Ethan entered the house without hesitation. What do you want? Why do I have to put up with such an attitude just to come home? This isn't your home anymore. State your business and leave quickly. What are you talking about? I'll be living here again from today. Oh, I'm hungry. Hey, Serena, give me some food, my ex-husband ordered, expecting me to serve him. Hey, cut it out. Why are you here? I demanded. Well, I've spent almost all my money. My mom will be here soon too, so leave the door unlocked, he said casually. Remaining silent, I glared at him. Oh, you're all healed up, huh? That's great. Let's get back together. You must have had a hard time without me. My ex-husband, still mistakenly believing I loved him, approached me with disgusting familiarity. The audacity of him made me feel sick. Stop it. I divorced you. I don't care about you anymore. Don't get cocky. You've been living on my money all this time, and you can't do anything but housework. Just shut up and do as I say, Ethan shouted at me. Just then, the door opened, and his mother arrived. You left the door unlocked. That's careless. Oh, what's going on? She's been getting cheeky, so I was giving her a bit of education. She's grown thick-skinned in the year we've been away, Ethan's mother remarked casually. Once again, Ethan and his mother began to make themselves at home, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Enough is enough. This isn't your home. I'm calling the police, I insisted firmly. Oh yeah? About that, this house was originally in your father's name, right? So that means the heir, including my mother, makes our agreement null and void, doesn't it? Ethan shouted, making an unreasonable claim. You promised to give me the house. If you're nullifying that, then everything about the division of property should be nullified as well. Give me half the savings? Sure, but I don't have it anymore. Didn't I tell you earlier? I've squandered it all. I quit my job, spent it all on booze, fun, investments, you name it, Ethan admitted casually. I was taken aback by Ethan's words. It was unbelievable that he could have spent such a large sum of money in just 1 year. Also, I have some debts with consumer finance, about $20,000. I guess you can pay for me, Ethan added nonchalantly. I initially thought he was lying, but his mother confirmed it. I can't lend you that much money, I replied firmly. I'm not asking you to lend it. I'm telling you to pay it, Ethan demanded arrogantly. I'm not giving you any money. I'm calling the police, I said firmly. As Nolan dialed the police to report the situation, Ethan began to wreak havoc in the house, breaking the precious furniture that had been my father-in-law's keepsake. His mother also started to destroy the furniture, laughing as she did so. That's the memory of my father and aunt. I pleaded desperately. Ethan and his mother continued their rampage, ignoring my pleas. About 10 minutes later, when the police arrived, I explained the situation to them. This is quite a mess. Let's hear your side of the story, one of the officers said, looking concerned. What's wrong with me breaking things in my own house? That's right, we're just crushing things we don't need. What's the problem? Ethan argued defensively when the police seemed unsure how to respond. Nolan stepped in decisively. This house has never belonged to these two. It's under Serena's name, Nolan explained calmly. Huh? What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Ethan and his mother looked dumbfounded. Before he passed away, our father-in-law left a will through a lawyer, of course. You wouldn't know, you just handed over what you were told and left the rest to Nolan. So, this house was yours from the beginning, Nolan clarified. So, this isn't your property then? Ethan realized with disbelief. Hold on, but I'm her ex-husband. We're like family, so she'll forgive me, right? Ethan attempted to appeal. Don't make me laugh. You're a stranger once you're an ex. I didn't even know you were in contact with another woman before our divorce was finalized and who treated me like a maid. If not you, then who? I responded firmly. No, that's not what happened. I was just going along with what my mom said. She ordered me to do all this. Ethan tried to shift the blame, but his mother intervened. What are you saying, Ethan? Your failed business, your failed relationships with young girls, your gambling debts, aren't these all you're doing? His mother disclosed. According to his mother, Ethan had been attempting to marry a young woman after our divorce. He also quit his job to start his own business, which failed within a month. Even with money, Ethan was rejected by lenders and became reckless, indulging in play and gambling, claiming to have money when he had almost none left. You brought this upon yourself. All this is Ethan's fault, his mother concluded. Despite their previous condescending attitudes towards me, they both desperately pleaded for forgiveness, trying to shift blame and grovel. This was truly ridiculous. No, I won't forgive either of you. And this isn't just something from the past, is it? You were treating me like a servant, I asserted firmly. Here is a revised version of the passage. Until a moment ago, not leaving when I asked you to leave is illegal. And since the furniture collected by my late father-in-law is now mine, you'll need to compensate me for that. But all right. We will compensate you. Just please don't get the police involved. You wouldn't want me to go to jail, would you? I don't care at all. By the way, we're married. It turned out I was married to my brother-in-law, Nolan, or rather, he was my former brother-in-law, now my husband. It hasn't even been a year, and you've moved on to another man, my brother at that. What are you talking about? You moved on before you were even divorced, didn't you? You wouldn't return Serena to me no matter how many times I asked. Stop clinging to the past already, Ethan was left speechless. I don't care anymore. I'll pay for whatever damages there are. How much for my idiot husband's junk? I demanded. Well, if we calculate roughly, about $100,000. Huh? What? The furniture that my father-in-law had collected were all high-end pieces made by famous designers. Ethan and his mother, who had no interest in these items, seemed to have believed they were just junk. You're going to compensate for what you've broken, right? We're not sure if we can get the same items, but make sure to pay properly. Ethan and his mother, unable to afford such compensation, were distraught. For the time being, the police took the two of them away for trespassing and vandalism. Of course, I didn't forgive them and went ahead with the lawsuit. Afterward, Ethan and his mother, who was desperately seeking help from Nolan, were bluntly rejected with him saying, I'm ashamed to even be related by blood. Ethan and his mother were likely receiving their just desserts together. It's a good location, so it might sell for a bit more, but for now, Nolan and I decided to take it easy in the house my father-in-law left us, with no plans to sell it. Eventually, we planned to sell the land and build a new house. I had some worries about having children, so after getting married to Nolan, I went to the gynecologist for a checkup, but there were no issues with either Nolan or me. Now, with the troublemakers gone, Nolan and I are living happily together. Thank you for being with us and listening until the end. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave your comments.